as we look ahead to tomorrow, the start of conference play, what's really exciting about it is this. We've been watching these teams for a little bit over a month now navigate through non-conference play. Not all schedules are created equally, right? So you've got some teams, I think, like a Tennessee, right, who's played a couple top 5 teams. They've been really competitive. They've won all their other games basically in blowout fashion. There are teams that we feel like we know more about. Kentucky, for example, but then you have some others, like an Ole Miss who's 13-0, like a South Carolina who's 12-1, right? There's so many storylines going into conference play of who's a legit contender, who is a pretender, who can pick themselves up off the mat, right? You've got Alabama, Arkansas, Texas A&M, who are trying to kind of get things going. I think Vandy, Georgia, LSU sort of fighting to get out of the cellar there. And this is really where the men start to separate themselves from the boys, because it's one thing to play the number 300 ranked net schedule or whatever and go undefeated or have 1 or 2 losses. Then you get into conference play, though. And the SEC is deeper and better than it has ever been when it comes to men's hoops. So really excited, guys. And I think we got a great slate of games to open up conference play. That being said, let's go ahead and dive into these games, guys. And we start with the noon tip-off. This game airing nationally on CBS as the South Carolina Gamecocks host the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And guys, like I mentioned, Lamont Paris and South Carolina, one of those teams that was really good in non-conference play. And I think they're continuing to try to prove to people that, hey, we deserve to be there. We belong. We should be a top 25 team. I know a lot of South Carolina fans have their gripes. Why are the Gamecocks not ranked? Why are they not in the top 25? You know how you take care of that conversation? You go win a ball game like this. You go win your first conference game, because if you look at South Carolina's schedule, guys, these first couple games, they have got a gauntlet outside of a game with Vandy mixed in there, but they've got a gauntlet open up. So we're going to know really, really quickly for South Carolina whether they are legit, they're a contender, or maybe they're a little bit of a pretender and they skated through the non-conference schedule. On the other side, Mississippi State, a team that's been sort of up and down. The big boost for them, though, they did get Tolu Smith back from injury. You know what you're going to get with Mississippi State, a really physical brand of basketball. I think that's going to be the challenge for South Carolina in this game. The physicality of Mississippi State, the depth of Mississippi State. But I tell you this, guys, as we run through these games, and of course we're locking in picks for each and every single one of them, South Carolina on their home floor, nationally televised game. I would expect Colonial Life Arena to be as packed out as it's been in quite some time. I think it will be a raucous environment, guys. There's a reason we talk about all the time, and we'll talk about all season, protecting your home floor in college basketball, because it's so hard to go on the road and win. I like South Carolina in this game to pull what I expect will be the upset. The lines are not out yet. Of course, those come out the morning of or the day of, what have you. I think South Carolina will pull the upset, as I think Mississippi State will be the favorite in this ball game. I like the Gamecocks, the momentum they've built with Lamont Paris. I think on the home floor, I think you're going to see Michie Johnson, B.J. Mack, Talon Cooper. I think Miles Studi could have a big game, former Vanderbilt guard in his first SEC game in Garnet and Black. I just think South Carolina right now, guys, with the momentum, I think Carolina is playing with a chip on their shoulder. I think they want to prove to everyone that the 12-1 start is legitimate and they are a legitimate team. I think they take down Mississippi State. I think this is sneaky. It's the first game of the day, and there are some higher profile matchups from a standpoint of ranked on ranked or blue bloods or just notable games. I think this is a great way to get the day started. South Carolina, Mississippi State. This could end up being, guys, the best game of the day. And I think South Carolina on their home floor, they've got the chip on their shoulder. I think State maybe still a little banged up with Tolu Smith. I think the Gamecocks find a way to keep the momentum going and get the job done in this one. We move to Gainesville, Florida, taking on the 6th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats. This game at 12:30 on ESPN. Again, for the Gators, been sort of up and down in non-conference play, right? They've struggled here and there. I know they had a tough one against an East Carolina team that's not all that good. Kentucky's been really good, guys. I think Kentucky, I think they are well on their way to breaking that streak of missed Final Fours or haven't been to a Final Four in quite some time. I like Kentucky in this ballgame. I think Florida, do not sleep on this atmosphere. This atmosphere is going to be electric. This atmosphere is going to be a lot of fun to see. They're going to be going crazy, going to be rocking. I think this Kentucky team, though, guys, is built for it. I think this Kentucky team is built for the challenge, going on the road, making a statement to open up conference play. I think the Wildcats get the job done. They take down the Florida Gators. We move to Como, Missouri, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs at a 1 o'clock tip Eastern time, of course. SEC Network is where you can watch this one, guys. Georgia stinks. They're just not very good. Bottom line, Georgia, if it's anything other, if it's a round ball, Georgia does not care, right? That's it. If it's a round ball, Georgia does not care. I love Mizzou in this game. I think the boys in Como will get it done. They'll protect the home floor. I like what Missouri's got this year. Again, they're one of those middle-of-the-pack teams right now, but I think they've got more than Georgia, although Georgia has been upstart of late. Do not sleep on the Dogs. They've been a little better. I was a little harsh on you, Georgia. I apologize. But either way, I like Mizzou to get the win in this one, start 1-0 in conference play. We move to Bud Walton Arena. The Arkansas Razorbacks taking on the 25th ranked Auburn Tigers. This is a 2 o'clock tip on ESPN2. Auburn right now, by the way, guys, ranked 25th in the country. 2 o'clock tip, ESPN2. Guys, Bud Walton Arena is one of the best environments in all of college basketball. Like, Bud Walton Arena is where teams' dreams go to die. And Arkansas is a team that is desperate, right? They were not good in non-conference play. They were a team that people are scratching their heads like, what's going on with the Arkansas Razorback? Meanwhile, what Auburn has done of late really have caught fire. I think they're a team that's going to be dangerous in SEC play with Bruce Pearl as their head coach. One of the best in the business, of course, Eric Musselman on the Arkansas side, what he's done there in Fayetteville. In Bud Walton Arena, I think Arkansas, everybody's doubting them. All the naysayers are just kind of writing off the Hogs. They're no good. They stink this year. It's going to be a down year in Fayetteville. I think at home, I think at minimum, even if Arkansas doesn't completely turn it around, I think we're going to have moments this season where we get sort of a burst of life, a burst of energy, if you will, from the Hogs. I think this one to start conference play, I think we get that. I still think Arkansas is just way too talented for the way they've played, and they're a really tough team to figure out. I think they get this win at Bud Walton Arena. I think they ride the momentum of the home crowd. They take down the 25th ranked Auburn Tigers on the home floor. Guys, we go to Nashville. Vanderbilt taking on Alabama, 3:30 tip on the SEC Network. Guys, Bama, another team, really difficult to figure out. I know they lost a lot. Don't get me wrong. They lost a lot last year. They've actually got the top leading scorer right now in the SEC in Mark Sears, 19.3 points per game. He's been really good. But it's been up and down for them as well. And you think about how much they lost from last year's team. I guess it would make sense, right? They've taken somewhat of a step back. But Mark Sears leads them this season. Vanderbilt, guys, is terrible. They're awful. I don't know how much longer Jerry Stackhouse has in Nashville, but it can't be all that much longer. So I think Bama will go on the road. Vandy's a weird place to play, by the way. It's a strange place, right? That gymnasium is just with the elevated floor. And whoever designed Vanderbilt's gymnasium, by the way, was on some sort of drugs or something, because it just doesn't make sense, right? But to be fair to the Commodores, it plays into their hands and plays in their favor. That's why you see some of the weird upsets you do in that venue. But I think Alabama, I think they're too good. I think this Vandy team, I think it's going to be a real struggle, guys. I think they are going to finish last in the SEC. I could see them winning maybe 1 or 2 conference games, but it's going to be a long, long season in Nashville. I think Bama wins. I think Bama wins big. Guys, we go to Knoxville. Maybe the game of the day, the only ranked on ranked matchup. The 5th ranked Tennessee Volunteers host the 22nd ranked Ole Miss Rebels. 6 o'clock tip on the SEC Network. And the big storyline in this one, guys, Chris Beard and the Ole Miss Rebels. Year 1 of the Chris Beard era, by the way. What he's done to this point with that ball club is incredible, right? Matthew Murrell, Alan Flanagan, Jalen Murray, what those guys are doing. I mean, it's really, really impressive to see Ole Miss. a fun brand of basketball. They've had some close wins, they've had some close calls, but the fact of the matter is this, guys, they're 13-0, right? And nobody in their right mind picked the Ole Miss Rebels to be undefeated as conference play begins. Now, Tennessee, no slouch either, of course, a top 5 team. And again, their only losses, guys, have come to other top 5 or top 10 ranked teams, what have you. Tennessee, guys, is just a really well-rounded team. You know what brand of basketball they're going to play. It's going to be really, really physical. They're going to make you uncomfortable to a point of, making the refs make a decision like what type of game are you going to call tonight, because they're going to be physical, right? They're going to test Ole Miss. They're going to push Ole Miss to their limits. If this game was in Oxford, I'd give Ole Miss a lot more of a chance, but going to Thompson Bowling Arena, going to Knoxville, I think Rocky Top will be rocking. I think Ole Miss has been a really nice story. I still think they're a quality basketball team. They're much better than, any of us gave them credit for the preseason. And I think Chris Beard will have this team ready to pull an upset or two like this in the SEC season. But I think Tennessee is just going to be too much, man. I think Tennessee is too good. I don't see Tennessee stumbling out of the gate in SEC play. And again, guys, the only games the Vols have lost this year have been to other top 5 or top 10 competition. I think Tennessee is legit. I think they may be the best team in the SEC, right up there, of course, with Kentucky. And I think Tennessee will get the win. I think Ole Miss, again, a nice story. They've been really, really good in non-conference play. But, guys, like I mentioned, this is when the men start to separate themselves from the boys. And as great a story as I think Ole Miss has been, I think Tennessee is going to humble Ole Miss a little bit. I think Tennessee will be too much in this ball game. And finally, guys, we go to College Station. Texas A&M taking on the LSU Tigers, an 8:30 tip. This game on the SEC Network as well. So, guys, it's a big day on SEC Network, by the way. We got a 1 o'clock, 3:30, 6, and 8:30, all back to back to back to back. Also games on ESPN, ESPN2, and CBS. So all across these different networks, tons of games, tons of great basketball. But again, A&M and the Bayou Bengals will do battle. Wade Taylor has been fantastic for Texas A&M, guys. You heard our good friend Blake LaBelle a couple weeks ago say he thinks he's the best player in the conference, 17.6 points per game. LSU is a team with Jordan Wright leading the way, 14.6 points per game, where, again, I think LSU is a bottom third of the league team right now. Had some positives in non-con play, but I think Buzz Williams' team and Texas A&M, kind of a sluggish start. I expect them sort of like Arkansas to get things rolling, to get things going. Buzz Williams is just too good of a coach. Texas A&M is too good of a basketball team. They've got too much talent, guys. We saw what they did last year with that crazy, crazy run in SEC play. What was it? I think they won like 15 in a row or something like that. So I don't know that A&M is going to do that again, but I do think on the home floor, I don't think LSU will have an answer. I think it will be a really, really big night for Wade Taylor for Texas A&M. And I do think the Aggies will get the win to open up conference play.